How to paint loose watercolor peony, but still make it look realistic. Let me guide you through the painting process. An outline drawing is done. Peony flower head is slightly enlarged than real size. Line drawing is available for download, and with an elastic eraser removing the excess amount of graphite off the paper. This is important, so there are no mess, no graphite marks on the painting. Also, some edge lines which are closer to light source I'm erasing more carefully, but don't push too hard on your paper. With a razor you can very easily damage your paper, so your eraser mark should be very light. And with a bigger brush I'm wiping off the paper eraser dust. The lesser you touch your paper with your fingers, the better, because we tend to get dirty, but paper is completely white and shows everything. Now to color mixing. Applying water to color palette, starting with Sennelier red. Very warm red pigment. Adding permanent rose, beautiful pink color. You can use cadmium red, opera rose. Try to mix your pigments that you already have in your paint box. Red violet. This peony is very vibrant, saturated pink, but still I can see their warm red colors. Cooler pink colors, adding manganese violet. More water to make it more transparent. And for the fourth mix, to have a really darker color tones, Perylene maroon, and Perylene violet. Very dark saturated color. Adding permanent rose to make it more related to other colors. Taking a piece of paper and testing all watercolor mixes that we just made. First is manganese violet with a little touch of pink color, pink mix. More water to make it more lighter. Sennelier red with permanent rose, warmer halftone. Red violet. And Perylene maroon with Perylene violet. A darker, and we have 4 color tones for this beautiful peony flower. It's not just pink, there are lots of different color shades. Now let's get back to our paper and outline drawing. Starting with one petal. I'm always painting one section at a time. Be sure that your water after mixing watercolors is clean and fresh. Your brush is also clean. Applying water just enough so that we can spread watercolors. The water is not flowing, and if I'm lifting the paper, water will not flow off the paper. So it's just enough to make a moist surface. And starting applying watercolors from the darker areas. I'm looking to the reference, seeing where are darks, where are lights. The lightest parts I'm leaving white paper as it is. And it's always better to leave light area wider than it appears in reference, because after some layers you will make it slightly smaller. So it's important to leave just enough so you don't lose your light area during painting process. And carefully working with a round synthetic brush, moving watercolors where I need them, constantly checking reference if I'm doing everything correct. I'm not just assuming something and painting everything in one go. I'm really thinking through where is the light source coming, where it is touching the surface. All the details are important to make even loose painting look realistic. It's not just flat subject on paper. We want to make it look realistic. And careful with the edge line. I'm applying watercolors a little bit off the edge, 2 to 3 millimeters, and then with clean and dry brush I push my watercolors toward the edge, so I'm not leaving after watercolor drying process some crisp edge line which appears when the watercolors get dry. Adding more watercolors if we feel that we need to add some darkness to some areas, and while the surface is wet we can do it very freely. Watercolors can be pushed and manipulated while the surface is wet. If you feel that you painted over some light area, wash your brush, dry it in a paper towel and wipe that area, the pigment off the paper. While the surface is wet, it is done very easily. Watercolors are manipulated also in some ways, but it's important to paint transparently, especially the first layer. Establish all the right tonal values, where are darks, where are lights, leaving light area wider as it looks in a reference. And if you're painting lightly, you can correct many mistakes. But if you will start with very bright saturated watercolor mixes, then it is much harder to correct some mistakes just because you added a lot of pigment. But if you are painting lightly, everything is manageable. Full tutorial is up to 15 minutes long and available on my Patreon. Link is down below. This tutorial is in real time and I'm walking you through the whole painting process of loose peony painting. Now I'm at the finishing stage of this peony flower head painting tutorial, and it is done in loose style but still looking realistic. I'm satisfied with the result. I learned a lot. I hope you also learned something new from this tutorial. And this is the stage where you can leave it like this and it still looks good. And I really like the lightness of the petals. but you can continue and you can add more layers, more details. This is a nice base to build more realistic look, but still this is amazing finished painting, amazing practice, and you can leave it as it is or you can continue. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching this tutorial. Hope you learned something new, and I really hope that you tried this peony flower. This is the peony flower season, and see you in my next tutorials. Thank you. Bye bye.